Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, a special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2019. It is Friday, July 26th, the Steelers' first day of training camp practice, the first of 15 practices this year. And as usual, our own Alex Kozora was out there. Took him a while to get there today, and hopefully you can cut down on that time moving forward there. But Alex, you made it out there, you made it back. Boy, it just looked like you did that before, according to the Twitter machine and everything else. So first of all, how was your day? And give us a quick update on the comings and goings, getting there and all involved.
It was a good day. The rain held off. It was thundering and some storms rolling in as soon as we were leaving practice around 5:20 or so. So that was good for the rain to be able to hold off. I mean, it was a hot day, sun out there the entire time, so I'm sure the players felt it. You got 9 practices in the first 10 days, so conditioning will be tested, especially for the young guys. But I thought a good body of work overall, pretty clean stuff. No, botched handoffs or center quarterback exchanges. I know they went off sides a little bit. Tomlin talked about that briefly, speaking to the media today. But all in all, I think a good foundation for the start of camp.
9 practices in the first, or what did you say, 9 in the first 10?
Yep, going to be fun.
Oh, wow, that is going to be fun. A little bit of housekeeping to start off with. T.J. Watt did not practice on Friday there. He's of course, on active PUP. He's day-to-day, according to Mike Tomlin. After the practice was over, there was no real update on him. To hear Tomlin talk, nobody else got injured today. And, of course, the team was not in pads today. They will not be in pads on Saturday. The first day in pads will be on Sunday. So I'm sure it just was an extended OTA, mandatory minicamp practice, if you will. Some more football in shorts, but they seemed to be moving around out there a little bit today.
Yeah, they did. And just one, I don't want to call it an injury because Tomlin didn't call it an injury, but after the first special team session, backup linebacker, outside linebacker, Deante Johnson seemed a little gimpy, something with the lower body. He did finish out practice. It looked fine, but should he miss tomorrow, you probably feel those injuries and those issues more when you wake up in the morning than you do in the moment with the adrenaline going. But if he were to miss tomorrow, that might be why. But overall, clean bill of health across the board. Watt was on the field in his jersey. Obviously, he wasn't participating, but no wrap, nothing visible with that hamstring. So being cautious with it, but he looks like he'll be fine and get back week and a half.
Speaking of conditioning, Ben Roethlisberger had nothing but positive. Boy, Ben Roethlisberger, whenever you mention Deante Johnson's name, his eyes kind of light up. Alex, I think, the next time you're with your significant other, if you look at heard the way Ben Roethlisberger looks at the media when they ask him about Deante Johnson, you'll be in good shape there. In short, Ben was asked about Deante Johnson, and the first thing that came to Ben's mind was how Deante Johnson looked running that conditioning test on Thursday there, and he says he didn't even look like he was breathing. He was that in shape. And Ben went on to say that normally guys, show up and are not fully conditioned. But this going back to what we talked about recently on the other podcast, Danny Smith talking about how he better show up. And Danny Smith made it sound like there was going to be a conditioning problem with Deante Johnson. Well, lo and behold, he shows up and he looks evidently in Ben's eyes, he looks good that way.
Well, I'll remember that for my wedding vows, so thank you, Dave. I'll make a note of that stuff. No, maybe that was a challenge from Danny Smith, not a concern, but just an opportunity to meet those expectations. For any rookie, you got to be in good conditioning. I know it's tough to really gauge that as a first time through an NFL camp, but knowing he's going to be working punt return, kick return, and obviously receiver during the preseason, you better be in great shape. And I think the biggest thing for him, at least from what I could tell today, is just him working a lot with Ben. He's in that first team group with all the other, roster locks like Juju and Moncrief and James Washington. So he's catching passes, even if it's on air and just in warmups from Ben. It's not coming from a backup. I think there's probably some value in that, just catching an NFL pass from a Hall of Famer. I'm sure that has to help and create that chemistry and get a feel for how Johnson's runs his route, how Ben, the ball comes out of his hand, and just stuff like that. So those little things are certainly positives, again, foundations for a guy like him.
All right, as we always kid, we try to give 40 minutes of information or 40 minutes of information in 30 minutes time, and it takes us 15 minutes to do it. So I would try to cut to the chase here and get to some of these position groups. Offensive line, did you nail the groups the way you rattled them off to me in the other podcast the other day? If regardless, rattle off the three groups today.
Dave, I wish I could say I was 100% right, but that day has not happened yet, and it probably will never happen. I was fairly close, but the first lines, because forget about what I said. Let's talk about reality. First team, Villanueva, Foster, Pouncey, DeCastro, Filer. Everyone knew that was going to be the five. Second team, Hawkins, Morris, Finney at center, Fred Johnson, and a core four right tackle. Third team, Damian Prince, left tackle, Brumfield, left guard, Hassenauer at center, Derwin Gray at right guard, and Zach Banner, right tackle. So Finney starting off at center to try to prove you wrong and show he can be a center, Dave.
Okay, and I guess Morris playing some left guard there, right?
Yeah, I mean, he played center and guard last year, and probably more center than guard. Finney played more guard than center last year, so you can see the flip there. But how about Derwin Gray going to right guard? I mean, he was a left tackle in college. Now he's at right guard. And Damian Prince, who was a right tackle, the Gray's teammate at Maryland, is now the left tackle for the third team right now. So guys will mix and match, and it'll change up about a week into camp. But, Filer, first team right tackle, core four at right tackle for the second team, and then Fred Johnson getting a chance to soak up some reps at second team right guard.
All right, good. And Gray, I'm not overly surprised. I thought maybe there was a good chance. Of course, Tomlin and all hit on that as well, too, after the draft, that maybe he'd work inside. Look, they got a lot of tackles anyway right now,
right.
Especially when you have Gerald Hawkins, bless his heart. he's back. And, look, that's the only way he's going to make this roster, right, is to stay healthy all these practices and show that he can be that guy. If that's the case, then he can just flip Zach Banner right off the roster.
Yeah, that's probably the goal, and I believe he was in team drills today, so he seems to be a full go, and obviously getting reps for him is going to be the most important thing in his career right now.
All right, anything else really stick out to you otherwise offensive line? I'm sure when they get the pads on and start really getting after it, they'll stick out more, I guess.
Yeah, nothing too notable in that regard. I thought Filer had some decent battles with Chick. It's interesting to watch Sean Surratt work, the new offensive line coach. Not a big difference from him and Munchak, or when Munchak was the offensive line coach and Surratt was the assistant. They're still split the groups up into two. Surratt was taking the interior guys, the centers and the guards. Assistant offensive line coach Adrian Clem was working more with the tackles. I will say Surratt definitely seems to be more of a vocal presence during some of the individual work, and you can hear him a lot more than you could Munchak, but it's all constructive. It's not just yelling to yell. It's yelling out instructions and reminders about technique and feet and stuff like that. So he's a more vocal presence, but again, it's all constructive.
All right, moving on. Let's move on and get the quarterbacks knocked out. Obviously, Ben is Ben. I'm not worried about anything there. I guess to Joshua, Dobbs, and then Rudolph. That was the pecking order, but to kind of read the Twitter machine today, not a great day for Dobbs, I'm taking it.
It was not. For first practice, when the defense isn't in pads and they can't tackle. I mean, 7 soft shots was a mess. Back-to-back interceptions from Josh Dobbs. Now, one was a great play by Brian Allen. We'll talk about that in a moment. The second one, a good read and react by Cam Sutton. But I think Dobbs went 0 for 3 in 7 shots. The final play being, he had poor Christian Scotland-Williamson. First practice, new year, you're saying, all right, we're gonna hit the ground running. He's wide open. Last play, 7 shots on the left side. Nobody's within 5 yards of him. Just sails it over his head, Dobbs does. And that would have been a touchdown missed opportunity. Maybe there's an off chance that Scotland-Williamson screwed up and didn't run the right route. I don't know. But the dude was just standing there wide freaking open, and Dobbs missed him. And for a guy third year, to make those easy mistakes, to have the interceptions, the inaccuracy, those were the concerns with him, and that did not escape Josh Dobbs on day one.
Rudolph get any 7-shot stuff, and how did he do?
He did not. They just had Ben and Dobbs. Only 7 plays, so Ben gets the first 4, Dobbs gets the next 3, then Rudolph became the number 2 in the next team session to get him some additional reps, and then Devlin Hodges as the number 4. Hodges has a little arm talent, little mobility. I think he might, not making the team, but might give you a little something as that number 4.
Yeah, the only problem is, are we going to see him enough in the preseason? Because we're here. We are. We're already talking about Dobbs not having a good day, and you're gonna have to get both those guys as much work as possible. You would think during the preseason. Obviously, you got to get Ben time in that third game as well too. So, everybody else. The 3 look comfortable overall.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they look comfortable, but just Dobbs had that bad practice,
Execution.
and yeah, just the execution. I don't think anyone looked super nervous or anything like that. But you got to execute, and unfortunately, Dobbs did not do that today. Defense, I thought, won the day. If you go with defense versus offense, I thought defense had the better day.
Exchanges look okay and all?
Yeah, that was good. That was clean at least. But again, you got bouncy, finny guys that have been here before, so that was one positive thing. I didn't see any bobbles or anything because you hate to waste plays. You only get so many plays to work at, and if you waste a rep, then coaches get pretty mad. So all clean there.
All right, running backs.
Tough to gauge. They only ran the ball maybe 3-4 times a day. Again, I think once the pads come
where's
on,
where's the balance at, Alex?
yeah,
You got to run to win in the NFL, Alex.
establish that run day one at training camp. That's what Vince Lombardi said, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, really not a whole lot to note. I thought Jalen Samuels maybe showed a little more quickness. He caught one ball and I think got away from Devin Bush and had a decent yak play over the middle of the field. I thought Benny Snell's hands looked better and just some of the on-air stuff. He didn't catch one in practice today, but I just thought some baseline stuff. His hands looked pretty good, and I just like his effort. He had one run, 3-4 yard gain. Gets tagged up, but then pretty good jog, about maybe 3/4 speed, the rest 60-some yards to the end zone, and just finishes that run. So I kind of like that mentality, but really light work for the running backs today. I don't have a whole lot to report.
And does Connor look the part?
Yeah, I mean, the dude's got rocked up. He's got a big lower body. I showed you that comparison of that pro
something.
day versus the off season. I mean, you can just tell how much work he's put in, and so Connor looks excellent.
He was down with Pete Bomarito, down there, Bomarito Performance. That's
It's a good guy to be with.
Oh yeah, certainly is. Le'Veon Bell's done a lot of work with him. I'm trying to remember who all else over the years has worked with Bomarito down there. But boy, a couple of those pictures there at the end that Connor posted, and of course you put the side by side there. He and even Mike Tomlin said, "Have you seen him? He's good to go." So that's good news there. Okay, the wide receiver position, obviously a lot of new faces in there. No AB anymore. Juju looked like he was making plays, made a couple of good plays today. Deante in there, obviously Deante Johnson, Switzer, Eli. Talk about it.
Yeah, it's a lot of mixing and matching. I think whenever they were doing some of the warm-up stuff very early in practice, it kind of went how we expected. Moncrief as the X, Juju in the slot, Washington as the Z when they went 3 receiver sets, then Moncrief and Juju opposite in 2 receiver sets. But there's a lot of guys that mix and match and rotate in, so it's hard to really pin down a depth chart because guys do wear different hats and they're getting rotated in with different groups. I thought, Deante Johnson, well, I didn't think it was a bad practice, and obviously Ben talking about the conditioning, that's really important, critically important. Did have one drop today, and I don't like to kill receivers for a drop because, hey, they all drop passes from time to time, but it was one of those issues we saw in college at Toledo where he took his eyes off the ball, tried to get upfield, didn't secure the football, and it led to the drop. So just got to work on detail-oriented, seeing the ball in, securing it, and then getting upfield, and that's what he's got to work on.
And I'm assuming some of those lines, a few of those guys on the back end didn't get many reps at all.
Yeah, 2 guys I didn't really see today are Trey Griffey and Tevin Jones. They're not rookies. They were here last year. Griffey had 1 target and dropped it, so missed opportunity there, and I didn't even see Griffey or Tevin Jones at all today. I mean, he was out there and did some special team stuff, but really limited reps. So you're trying to get, work for Johnny Holton and Deontay Spencer, and, just because you have to work in the guys like James Washington and Dante Moncrief so much, you can't just let them have a day off and not get reps. They have to get reps, so it really makes it tough for the back-end guys to see the field.
That's true. When you got Moncrief, look, they've all got to make sure they get on the page quickly here.
Yep.
Together with AB and all. So, yeah, it's going to be hard for some of those guys to get reps. They'll get them in preseason games, but it'd be tough during camp unless anybody's out injured and all. All right, tight ends. Vance, there was a couple other guys I think having a little bit of problems with the sled, huh?
Yeah, as rookies do, Gentry, Trevor Wood, guys that they didn't look terrible. I've seen worse guys on the sled day one. Farrah McKeever last year, Christian Scotland Williamson last year were really, really poor. I thought Scotland Williamson showed some improvement, but yeah, I mean, James Daniel taking those guys through a couple times. You're getting flat back guys not getting their eyes up and seeing what they're hitting to be able to drive through contact and kind of messes up their footwork. So work in progress there, but expected for these rookie tight ends. Vance though had one of the plays of the day. This sweet and 7 shots, one-handed snag, posted shifting over Steven Nelson on a corner route in the left corner from Ben to come down for the touchdown. So they're splitting tight ends out wide. They're isolating these guys, including Vance, putting them at the X receiver to create those one-on-one matchups. Did a little bit of that in camp last year. I think that's the way to go. Take advantage of those big athletic tight ends you have. McDonald and even Grimble, to an extent, has the profile of someone that could match up well against the linebacker. So I think isolate those guys. That's the way you want to get them the ball this year.
Was it noticeable who was running at number 3 or no?
No, not really. Again, you're getting 12 personnel. You're getting multiple guys in. It's probably hard to gauge. But again, I think right now it's safe to say you're looking at, McDonald, Grimble, Gentry, and the rest.
Okay. Let's see. I think that covered all the offense right there. Defensive side of football. Defensive line, once again, probably hard, without them clanging, without pads on and all like that. But what about the running orders there?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to give you because I don't have a whole lot in terms of performance today. The first team, no surprise, Tuitt, Hargrave, Hayward. Second team, Hooks, our boy Levon Hooks at left end. McCullers at the nose, Tyson Alualu in at right defensive end. And then let me get the third team. I want to make sure I have it correct here. Casey Sales at left end, Greg Gilmore at nose tackle, and 6th-round pick Isaiah Buggs. The rest of the guys floated in. So if you're a Winston Craig, Henry Mondu fan, didn't see him a lot today.
Outside linebacker with what sideline? I'm assuming it was Chicolo, and then a Denier, and talk about that group.
Yep, it was Chick first team, left outside linebacker opposite of Bud. Second team was JT Jones, second team left outside linebacker with a Deante at right outside linebacker. I thought Deante made some plays, got some pressure. Thought Smith did as well. A little bit of something there with JT Jones. I'm interested to learn more about him. And then I think our third team was Sutton Smith at left outside linebacker, and then Tuzar Skipper, it's a rookie undrafted free agent from Toledo at right outside linebacker. So just kind of getting to know those guys. But I thought the pass rush got some pressure today, and that was a good sign.
Yeah, Sutton Smith, I think I read on one of those tweets, was getting after Rudolph or somebody, right?
Yeah, I think he might have come in free. I'm not sure if he defeated a block. I just saw him breathing down Rudolph's neck, and it forced a bad throw and incompletion. So good for him. No fullback that I'm aware of today for Sutton Smith. So I think it could still happen, but did not see it today.
Is he using that? I mean, it's all he has, that 2-arm swipe, right?
Yeah, I didn't even see a particular move today from him because sometimes he was on the wrong side and it kind of obscured my view. But once you get these guys in the one-on-ones, when the pads come on, I'll probably get a better feel for his kind of go-to moves as a pass rusher.
I know I'm jinxing him, but he's going to have 3 or 4 sacks, and it's going to drive.
Don't jinx him.
It's going to drive Steeler Nation.
You can't cut him. He's going to be claimed.
Crazy when that happens. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at here? Inside linebacker, some guy named Bush.
Yeah, about that. As we expected, a big rotation at inside linebacker. Bush, though, had one of the bigger defensive plays of the day. Underneath, kind of check down, Connor moving right to left from Ben, and Bush was able to get his hand in there and break it up. So a guy that looked athletic, kind of as advertised. I'm not going to try to hype him up too much for the clout and be like, wow, Devin Bush, Hall of Famer today. As you know, some of those tweets are going to kind of come out to try to get people just all in a tizzy. But I thought he had a good day.
I was looking at Twitter today, and I'm thinking they have 90 Pro Bowlers on there.
They do, yeah. But I thought it was a good day for Bush and a lot of rotation, which is not a surprise. I think it's going to take a while to figure out the group. I mean, they started out in dime. We'll get to that, I guess, in a second with the secondary. But then it was Vincent Barron taking the first snaps at inside linebacker in 7 shots. And then for the first one in the next team session, the full team session, not 7 shots, it was Vince and Devin Bush. And there were times where it was Bush and Barron on the field and Vince off with the first team. So they're going to mix and match a lot. I expect that to continue. You're not going to make a decision on who's winning battles tomorrow or the next day or the next day. Get these guys reps, see who works well with who and who fits well in what kind of role. But I think it's a really talented group. I'm excited to watch them work.
Were you able to notate who was strong and who was weak in those situations?
No, not particularly. I mean, we know that Vince is generally the buck linebacker. The other two are more Mac profiles. But again, I think that it's almost blurred the way that schemes and stuff have blurred. I think you kind of have to be able to do both. There is no real true buck and Mac anymore with the way offenses can go left, right. I mean, it's just, it doesn't even matter at this point. But I think all three are capable of certainly, giving you something against the run and the pass.
So, I mean, try to keep an eye on that moving forward to see how much of Mac and Buck.
Okay. And then really quick with some of the backups, the next group that came in, I mean, I guess you can call it second team, was Medikevich and Tigray Scales, with Robert Spillane and Gilbert III working the third team inside linebackers.
All right, so not a lot of bodies in there, but I mean that's to be expected, right? 3 groups or so, 4 groups, 3.5 groups.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of 3.5 because you got 3 fighting for the first 2 spots, and the other guys come in. But a lot of talent, I think.
All right, how about that secondary? Tell me something about Artie Burns and Marcus Allen.
Good day for Artie Burns. Really strong, I thought, in coverage. But to be fair, I said this guy's going to have a good camp because he always has good camps. If he can do this not on 7/26, but 9 and 10/26 when the regular season starts, that's the goal with him. But a couple breakups, even in 7-on-7, they threw a deep ball. Rudolph did for Washington down the right sideline, and Burns right there and broke it up or really forced the incompletion. It skipped off of Washington's hand. So a good day for him. Pretty quiet from the safeties and Marcus Allen. I did note though that. And it kind of was weird because Cameron Kelly floated around. We should probably talk about him. But the way it opened up, at least, is that Cameron Kelly was running second-team free safety. It pushed Jordan Dangerfield to third-team free safety. And Kelly ended up playing slot, and it kind of elevated Dangerfield. But Cameron Kelly might be a guy that they want to at least take a really long look at.
And, of course, he was the one when Sean Davis missed early time in OTAs. He was the one evidently running, getting those reps there. So maybe there's more to that with him.
Yeah, it was only just tough in OTAs because obviously we weren't there to watch it, and then we knew Dangerfield was away at Townsend graduating, so I wasn't sure, was he just in there as like third string because Dangerfield and Davis were out? We couldn't tell, but Kelly might be a guy that they want to, like I said, take a good long look at.
And Allen, I guess second string strong, I guess, is that what you said?
Yep, second string strong safety. Say that 5 times fast.
That ties me up even there. All right, what happened in the return lines?
Well, I want to go back to cornerback briefly here,
sorry.
Just for a couple more notes there. Brian Allen had a great the first play of 7 shots, or one of the first plays of 7 shots, I should say. It was the first one where Dobbs came in, threw a fade for Washington, back left corner of the end zone, and Allen was able to high point that football, pick it off, first interception of camp. Really good play for him. Want to see that continue moving forward. And then Justin Lane. I don't want to freak out about it because they're rookies, and rookies always generally get put down the pecking order, but third team right cornerback, so he's going to have to fight for some reps.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see how some of that shakes out. Brian Allen must have listened to us talk about him bad the last couple of days there, huh? But look, I mean, we've seen him do some good things. It's just you go back to last preseason when that's the most that he played, and he wasn't sharp at all, and obviously didn't make the 53, but did get brought up to the 53 as the season progressed there. Still probably going to be a tough road for him. Look, at least Artie's looks like he's at least he's status quo for what you normally expect out of him this time of year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt. I mean, you want to just see this guy, because if he was struggling in camp, then you just throw in the towel, but you can at least convince yourself that he might be able to turn it around with a good summer. Cam Sutton floated between second team right cornerback, splitting time with Brian Allen and slot, so kind of again status quo for him. And then Herb Waters, other guys.
Did you say we saw any dime or no?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the first play, 7 shots. Offense comes out 4 wide, literally 4 receivers on the field. It was Juju, Moncrief, Switzer, and Washington, I believe. I'll have to double check my notes. So 4 receivers on the field. Defense comes out in dime. Cam Sutton right now, your dime defender.
Wow.
Well, I mean, they've done it before. I mean, yeah, I guess it wasn't Marcus Allen, so that's a good point. I mean, is it going to be Allen or versus Cam Sutton? But that's how they went.
All right, walk us through the 7 shots real quick on those plays.
Okay, let me pull up my notes here, get to the right spot. Defense won the day 4-3. I'll try to track it every day, and then kind of what the camp total is to see who's winning there. First play was, again, the 4 wides. Let's see. The first play, Ben threw a quick out to Smith-Schuster for the score, left side. The second play, again, left side, a quick kind of flare to James Conner. Mark Barron couldn't close in time. The third play, well covered by the defense. Ben just threw it into the ground. The next one was Vance's great one-handed catch over, bodying Steven Nelson. Then Dobbs came in and things kind of fell apart. The Allen interception, Cam Sutton jumped the pass for Jalen Samuels, picked that off. And then the last one was the one where Scotty was super open and Dobbs missed him by a quarter mile. And defense wins it 4-3.
All right, and the return lines.
Usual suspects. Let me make sure I have the right name.
Was Eli first?
Yeah, he was. The order was Eli, Switzer, Deante Johnson, Deontay Spencer, Joe Hayden kind of was in and out. I don't really I'm not looking at it too much. Actually, Cam Sutton was in there too. I don't have that in my in my notes. I should double check or should edit that in. So, Rogers, Switzer, Johnson, Spencer, Sutton. Those are probably going to be the guys.
All right. What else you got for us?
I think that was the bulk of it today. Like I said, Cameron Kelly playing slot corner and free safety is interesting, just giving you more value. He could be seeing time at both spots there. That was the bulk of it, I think, though. Sutton Smith, I just like the energy from him. And then a couple other guys making some plays along the D-line. I thought Greg Gilmore stuck out a little bit along the defensive line. But, it's all about seeing how these guys stack plays. And as I said before, these first 2 days, I'm more interested in just learning where guys are lining up, getting a rough idea of the current depth chart. So when the pads come on, I can be more focused on the plays and evaluation than just where guys are lining up. And also, if you haven't checked the notes today, what we've added this year, and I should be able to do for the rest of the camp, is we're now tracking yards gained each play. So I can say this was an 8-yard gain or an 11-yard gain or a 2-yard gain instead of just not really giving any sort of context like that. It's going to be approximate, not going to be perfect. I might miss it by a yard or two, but should give you a better visualization of how the play went.
Now, I'm upset you're going to do that, but you're not going to give me passing distances.
Oh, I thought about that in the car today. I'm like, nope, maybe next year if you're lucky.
Man, I need me some average depth of target, Alex, for meaningless practices. But no, I appreciate you doing it. I know how hard it is to kind of keep up with that stuff. But I mean, did you just hit the ground running? I mean, is it like riding a bike for you at this point?
There's a little bit of rust early, but I think after that first 7 shots period, I kind of got things down pat, and just kind of back at it. So it was a really good day today all around.
All right, catch of the day. Was that the McDonald one?
Oh, it was either that or Brian Allen's pick. I mean, they were both really spectacular plays.
And if you haven't seen it already, the great Tim Rice is back with us taking taking photos for us here. He has a great one of Brian, and I assume that's the one you're talking about. Brian Allen skying up on that one against Washington.
Yeah, that has to be it. Yeah, I didn't even know he got a shot of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's Tim was on the money. You want to talk about in regular season form? Tim had a great shot of that. He had the one on, I guess, the deep pass down the left hand side of Juju over the top of, who was it? Steven Nelson, I think.
Yeah, that was in 7-on-7.
Okay, and then he has also the pass. Didn't you just describe the pass defense by Bush on Connor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that one. That was a really good shot.
He's got all 3 of those shots. So good job, Tim Rice. We have those pictures from day one already up on SteelersDepot.com, and make sure you give Tim a shout out for that as well too. He's going to be with Alex the first couple of days here of camp, like he is every year. And Alex, we have Lynn Tester from Touring Plans back again, buddy Lynn. Tell everybody about Touring Plans.
Yeah, if you're planning a trip to Disney, that's the company you want to work with. They're going to help you get situated. Disney can be such a chaotic experience, and you're trying to find the way to best make it work within your budget. Those are the guys you want to go to. So go to touringplans.com. Thanks to them. They've been sponsoring us for a while now. We really appreciate their support, and everyone else who's donated too. Certainly appreciate their support.
And Tim, we appreciate having Tim back as well. And 1 down, 14 to go. Alex, you're 1/15 of the way through this already.
And I'm going to go get myself some McDonald's. I'm going to get my McChicken and cross that off the camp bucket list.
All right. Until tomorrow night, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex Kozora at Alex_Kozora. He'll be answering some questions on the Twitter machine tonight. If you hurry, you can get to him or read what he's already had answered. You're probably not going to get yours up by the time you listen to this now. But make sure you follow him at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. And Alex and I will once again be back on Saturday night with another one of these special edition Terrible Podcasts. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.